been a while. Hello. I hope you're having a wonderful day. If you're here from my Instagram or from my previous video, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. And if you're new, welcome. I'm so grateful you're here, and happy Halloween. Hopefully you're seeing this on October 31st. And if you're not, I failed and this is awkward. So, whoops. Or I guess whenever this makes it onto your timeline. Nonetheless, if you're seeing this, that means 31 Days of Spook is officially over. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I will leave my Instagram handle right here. I have done a makeup for every day of October, and I've been posting them there, so I highly encourage you to check that out. If you like spooky and you like makeup, hopefully this is the right video for you, and you stick around to the end to see the final product. A bit of a content warning, I will be using fake blood today. It'll be very minuscule, but if that is going to be upsetting or anything like that, please click off now, and hopefully we'll see you again next time. Yes, I think that's all of the housekeeping items, so yeah, we'll get right into it. Grab a warm drink and a blanket, and I have a bit of a spooky story to tell you. Alright, so we're going to be talking about Annabelle today. I'm sure you've heard of the Annabelle movies, Annabelle, Annabelle the Creation, and Annabelle Comes Home. We will be looking at the origin story that sparked these movies, as they are based on an allegedly true story. This is one of Ed and Lorraine Warren's actual cases that went down in the 1970s. At the end, we're going to be doing a little comparing of history and Hollywood, and I didn't create that because there is a website. But for now, it's story time. Wahaha. Alright, so this story begins in 1970 when a 28-year-old nursing student named Donna received a Raggedy Ann doll from her mother for a birthday present. Hair needs to go up for this one. Gonna have to put up with the strange shape of my head from here on out. I'm very sorry. So almost immediately after bringing the doll home, Donna and her roommate Angie started finding the Raggedy Ann doll in different positions than what she was left in, and sometimes even in different rooms. This is going horribly. This gluing. Oh my goodness, what a disaster. Okay. We're at the beginning of the story, and let me tell you, if I had a doll that started showing up in different rooms of my house, that would be it. That'd be the end. I'd give it away, and it's someone else's problem, and I'm sorry, but no. No thank you. Next. The girls also had a friend named Lou who was not a fan of the doll whatsoever. He told Donna to get rid of it because he was just so unsettled by this doll, and she didn't. So, you know, let's chill, I guess. For the record, Annabelle looked like this, not like this. Not like a creepy freaking porcelain doll, just your standard Raggedy Ann. Another strange occurrence that happened around the apartment, they'd find parchment paper just randomly laying around with little notes scribbled on them in what was deemed to be child's handwriting. Some of them would say, "Help us," some would say, "Help Lou," stuff like that, just more on the sinister side. Spooky. So it actually ended up taking them finding blood on the doll's chest and hands for them to call anyone or try to do anything about it, which is wild to me. I would have been telling every person ever if this was happening. So they ended up calling a medium to hold a seance with them and the doll. This initially revealed the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins, and that she had been living inside the doll. Now, there's varying stories on how Annabelle had passed, but the most common one seems to be that Annabelle's body was found where Donna and Angie's apartment was built later on. So this next part actually kind of angers me a little bit. I'll tell you why, but I'll tell you the part first. So the medium had told Donna and Angie that they had made Annabelle feel so loved and so at home, the spirit wanted to stay with them. Now, Donna, being very empathetic towards the spirit, she allowed Annabelle to remain inside the doll. Now, I don't know about you, but if you know anything about the paranormal at all, chances are you know never to allow anything to stick around ever. Like never ever allow anything to stay. Simply because demonic spirits like to trick and play with people, and you can never be too sure what exactly you're allowing into your life. That's just like Ghosts 101. If you believe in that stuff. I don't know if I do, but I do know that I do not want to be messing around with it on the off chance that it is actually real. And yeah, don't want to like accidentally get possessed. Last thing I need is like an actual demon. I have enough going on with my inner demons. It's fine. I'm fine. Back to the story. Lou, our friend over here, wasn't having it. He still was very not on board with this plan. Here's where it starts to get a little chaotic. Lou, one night he awoke from a bad dream with a sense of paralysis. I look wacky. He looked down his legs and saw Annabelle crawling from his toes up to his chest, just like. And then the doll started to strangle him, and he eventually passed out. Allegedly. Decided I hated the nose, so we're redoing it. Now, I've experienced sleep paralysis, and that feels so real sometimes. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it is. Whether it is paranormal or just induced by stress and anxiety, and because it can trigger the parts of your brain that handle hallucination. If something's like on your subconscious, like Lou with Annabelle, I wouldn't be surprised if that's why that's triggered, but I mean, what do I know? But I mean, a lot of people believe that sleep paralysis is caused by the paranormal. So the next day, Lou and Angie were preparing for a road trip when they heard rustling in Donna's room. When investigating, Annabelle was on the floor and there was no sign of anyone else. While they approached the doll, Lou started to curl over in pain. He clutched his chest and suddenly his shirt was soaked with blood. In a panic, they unbuttoned his shirt to see what the cause of the blood was, and they found claw marks across his chest that almost immediately disappeared. These claw marks were allegedly the marks of the beast, so I believe it's 3 claw marks. Now this is when Donna had had enough. Girl, finally. What? This is when Donna had reached out to a priest, a higher priest, and Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed and Lorraine had determined that the doll was actually not possessed, but that the doll was being manipulated by an inhuman spirit in attempts to find a human host. Dun, dun, dun. They determined that the demon was actually only a couple of weeks away from completion for possessing one of the 3 individuals, Donna, Angie, or Lou, and that it could have resulted in death. So I mean, that's good that they stopped that. A priest then performed an exorcism and a blessing on the home, and Ed and Lorraine had removed the doll from the apartment. Annabelle put up a fight though. They claimed that the car would swerve and that the brakes would fail on their way home. It wasn't until Ed had crossed the doll with holy water that they could return home safely. And even at the Warrens, Annabelle would be found in different rooms than where she was left. And at one point she was levitating on a chair that was placed beside Ed's desk. Allegedly. There are apparently multiple accounts of people getting into vehicular accidents after visiting Annabelle. Then actually one fatality. The doll is held in the Warrens Museum, and I guess this guy and his girlfriend were taunting the doll during a tour, and they were actually asked to leave. And on their way home, as they were laughing and joking about the doll, her boyfriend lost control of the motorcycle and they ended up crashing, and he was killed almost instantaneously. Very, very, very unfortunate for sure, but definitely weird circumstances. Yeah, so Annabelle is locked away in Ed and Lorraine Warren's basement. Now she's in the museum, but she was basically concealed in this box. It was specially constructed to hold her. The wood was all soaked in holy water. Also, Ed had stapled like the devil tarot card to the front of it. No one really knows why. I feel like it's also kind of self-explanatory. So it's said that Annabelle is one of the most dangerous dolls in the world and one of the most dangerous items in that room, which, by the way, is filled with a ton of haunted artifacts and cursed items from multiple cases that Ed and Lorraine Warren dealt with. Annabelle has actually been transported from the old case to a new case, and that took place on February 22nd, 2017. Now, this is how serious the situation is taken. The St. Michael's prayer was said ahead of time before Annabelle was removed from the case, and all individuals involved would not touch the doll unless they were wearing gloves soaked in holy water. So they moved her because they put her in a portable case so that she could be transported from the museum for different events and charity shows that they've put on. And then after she was moved, there was a sacred binding ritual performed to ensure that all individuals involved were safe. And they've actually hired a priest to bless the museum every 2 to 3 months, just to make sure everything's in check. So that's the origin of Annabelle. Now let's talk about the history of her versus how she's depicted in the Hollywood films. So I'm going to be referring to history versus Hollywood for these points. So the first point, was the real Annabelle doll a porcelain doll? No, it wasn't. As I showed you at the beginning, the actual Annabelle doll is a Raggedy Ann doll, which doesn't really look that terrifying, so it's understandable why they'd be like, hey, let's grab this creepy ass doll. Were the previous owners of the doll attacked by a satanic cult? And no, not that's accounted for anyway. Who knows what happened before the doll was given to Donna though, so there's no record of a satanic cult attacking as depicted in the Annabelle film. So a big question is whether Evelyn is based on a true person, a real person. That is the bookstore owner who ends up sacrificing herself for the doll in Annabelle. That doesn't happen. There was no sacrifices made. That is accounted for. Since it's said that it was actually an inhuman spirit, a lot of people ask whether or not Annabelle Higgins is a real person, a real child who had passed away. It is stated that she was real. She did pass, unfortunately. So it's just said that this inhuman spirit was using Annabelle as a face in order to make Donna and Angie more vulnerable. And then all the rest of the questions are just like, Can I visit the Annabelle doll? Are there any deaths associated with the doll? Has she actually inflicted harm on people, which we talked about Lou. Jury's out on that one, but allegedly yes. There was no kitchen fire though. Those are just a few accounts of what was exaggerated, more plots that were added just to make the movie more interesting. But yeah, I'm just gonna add some final touches and then we'll do a quick recap. I do have a red wig that I was gonna put on, but it has bangs, so it makes it look way too complicated with the cotton, so unfortunate. So that is the origin of Annabelle. I hope you enjoyed yourself because I had a lot of fun making it. I'd love to hear what you think down below in the comment section. If you believe in ghosts, click the like button. If you don't believe in ghosts, click the like button. Again, if you do want to see a still version, I do post everything on my Instagram, so I will put my handle right here. I also created a Twitter account, so I will put that handle right here as well. I do post everything there. I will be trying to use it more often, just random updates, and yeah. Happy Halloween. I hope you stay safe this weekend, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye. Amanda.